Get ready to hear the truth about America on a show that's not immune to the facts with your host, Dan Bongino.
All right, welcome to the Dan Bongino Show. Producer Joe, how are you today?
Hey, Dano, doing really good, man. Glad to be here. It was great show yesterday, by the way, Dan. Yeah,
well,
nice
thank you. And likewise, I know Joe feels the same way. I'll let him speak for himself, of course, but we got a ton of just amazing feedback on our Memorial Day show yesterday for Joe's incredible rendition of Taps, which really was amazing. Got a lot of people choked up, and people sent in a lot of you really heartfelt stories about their sad losses. And we read them, and yesterday was an emotional day for us. So I know, Joe, you appreciate their feedback too. I sent a lot.
I think everything that we said and did in that show, Dan, was sincere and from the heart. Of course. And that's why people can feel that. You know, and I know they can. So thank you all very, very much.
Yeah, and we really appreciate it. And thanks everybody for listening yesterday on Memorial Day. Hope you had a restful, thoughtful day thinking about all those sacrifices made to keep us the freest, greatest country on earth. A lot of news today. Got hopefully about 5 or 6 stories I can get to, so let's get right to it. Today's show brought to you by our buddies at Lending Club. Hey, for decades, credit cards have been telling us, buy now, pay for it later with interest. And despite your best intentions, interest gets out of control fast. With Lending Club, consolidate your debt or pay off credit cards with one fixed monthly payment. Since 2007, Lending Club has helped millions of people regain control of their finances with affordable fixed-rate personal loans. Really easy to use, too, folks. No trips to a bank, no high-interest credit cards. Just go to lendingclub.com. Tell them about yourself, how much you want to borrow. Pick the terms that are right for you, not somebody else. And if you're approved, your loan is automatically deposited into your bank account in as little as a few days. Lending Club is the number one, not the number two, the number one peer-to-peer lending platform with over $35 billion in loans issued. Go to lendingclub.com/Dan. Check your rate in just minutes and borrow up to $40,000. That's lendingclub.com/Dan. Lendingclub.com/Dan. All loans made by WebBank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. All right, Joe, let's get into the stories. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, story number one. I don't want you all to be confused about what's going on with the declassification process right now. President Trump gave Bill Barr, the Attorney General, on Friday, as many of you know, covered it yesterday and on Friday, the authority to declassify information to get to the bottom of what's going on with this spying scandal on President Trump's team. I want to give you some behind-the-scenes information about what's really happening. Yes, I can. Paul, Paul has texted me during the show. Okay. What's really happening right now. From what I'm hearing from sources, Bill Barr, the Attorney General, let me frame this differently. There's a myth out there that because President Trump is a president of the United States and Bill Barr is the Attorney General, that the minute they get into the office, Joe, the Roswell files, the Kennedy assassination, the Area 51 files out of like Independence Day, they bring in this, Book of Secrets, like that National Treasure, whatever movie with Nick. I always get the pop culture references wrong. It's just my thing. Deal with it. Nicolas Cage is bringing in the Book of Secrets or whatever. Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. Indiana Jones is coming in about the secrets from the Ark. That is not the way this works, ladies and gentlemen. The president doesn't read everything. He doesn't see every piece of classified information, nor does the Attorney General. Behind the scenes, what's going on here is Attorney General Barr, when he came into office, wanted to look into the origins of why the Trump campaign and later Trump presidency was spied on. He started asking questions. He told Bill Hemmer, excellent reporter at Fox, he told Bill Hemmer, listen, I have more questions now than before I started asking questions. Meaning the answers he was getting were not really answers. There's a massive effort to hide the involvement, and I'll get to what they're hiding in a minute, of Brennan and others in this spying thing. An excellent piece by Margot Cleveland today I have up. I'm going to get to in a minute. But I want to be clear on this. Barr came into office, and people are still not giving him answers. So what I'm hearing is Gina Haspel, the director of the CIA, Christopher Wray, and others in the Justice Department are still withholding key tidbits of information from Barr so that Barr can put 2 and 2 together and get 4 and get to an explanation of why the president's team was spied on. You tracking? It's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
There's a fair amount of speculation on my part. I always put that out there because I'm hearing it secondhand from someone I trust who's been reliable in the past, unlike Christopher Steele and his dossier. I actually verify my sources, okay? That's what I'm hearing, that Haspel and people within the FBI and DOJ are stonewalling Barr's efforts to get specific answers. That's why Trump on Friday said to him, you now have declassification authority for what you need. I want you to get to the bottom of this. And Barr, I hear, is starting to finally win on what's going on, because he's got now the declassification authority to go back and say, I want this. Okay. Now, I just want to be clear, though, on what that means, because Andy McCarthy has an excellent piece up on National Review today. Bill Barr's declassification kerfuffle. Andrew C. McCarthy. Yes. Yeah, the kerfuffle. It's a scientific term for what's going on right now. Andrew C. McCarthy, one of the best writers out there. His material's priceless. I will have his piece up at the show notes today. Yeah, he does a great job. Joe knows Andy. Spoken to him a couple times when Joe was in the radio station,
great guy.
WCBM. So Andy's piece will be up at the show notes. I'd like you to read it. It's short. Andy can write pretty long pieces that are very detailed, but this one's short and to the point. And he explains the difference, which is, I want to make sure you're crystal clear on this, that declassification, ladies and gentlemen, declassification is not necessarily public disclosure. Meaning, the Democrats' argument here that declassification of the information of Barr is going to mean that all of our national security secrets are going to be out in the public for everyone to see is simply entirely 100% inaccurate. It is a myth being made up by the left to prevent you and the national security swamp that's hiding what they did to spy on the Trump team, the intelligence swamp, the people at the top of the cabal that did all this. It's trying to build political capital in the public to make you believe that all of these operatives are going to be exposed and are dealing with the Russians right now. And as I described to you yesterday, it's complete, total nonsense. Now, another thing McCarthy describes in his piece, which he makes an excellent point here. He said, listen, the media is openly declaring a partnership with one of 2 major political parties now. This is from Andy McCarthy's piece. This is an excellent point. He's basically saying GOP leaks when there's a GOP president, good. Leaks when there's Democrats, bad. He goes on. Consequently, when a Republican administration is in power or being questioned, classified leaks are the order of the day. But when a Democratic administration is under the microscope, we get lectures on the wages of compromising intelligence secrets, especially sources and methods. Ladies and gentlemen, Barr ran the CIA, okay? Barr is not going to disclose the identity of patriotic American intelligence sources overseas putting their butts on the line to gather intel for decision makers. Stop with this ridiculous absurdity that sources and methods are at risk. It's the New York Times, as I described yesterday, that outed so-called a source close to Vladimir Putin, not Bill Barr. So it's fascinating that Brennan and his cronies leaked that there's a source close to Putin, allegedly, by the way, to the New York Times in an effort to preserve the identity of a source close to Putin who's been wrong on just about everything. If they had a source close to Putin, why didn't they just ask him if Christopher Steele's story was accurate? Huh? Thank you. Why? Even the audience thinks it's funny. Why didn't they just ask this source close to Putin that Brennan and his cabal at the upper echelons of the CIA had at the top of the CIA? Why didn't they just say to him, hey, or her, is this information from Christopher Steele we're using to spy on Trump accurate? No, that's ridiculous. They didn't do it, or the source was a liar. Ladies and gentlemen, just don't confuse the two. Declassification is not public disclosure. It doesn't mean we are all going to be privy to the information. And takeaway number 2, it's incredible how, again, under GOP presidents, disclosures and leaks are all great. And under Democrat presidents, any leaks are all detrimental to national security. It's total, complete hypocrisy. Just quickly about this, because we have a ton of news to get to outside of the whole Spygate drama. Here's what they're really hiding. Margot Cleveland has another excellent piece up at the Federalist. I'll include in this show notes today. Title is Lawsuit Suggests That Spying on the Trump Campaign Started in early 2016. Now, I've told you this story before, but there is a Russian woman, Svetlana Lakova, who has unfortunately been thrust into this whole Spygate drama, not by her own willingness to do so. She has been essentially framed, I believe, with George Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Mike Flynn, and others. And here's what they're really hiding, ladies and gentlemen. I can't say this enough to you. The Spygate story is not a Donald Trump story. It is not about Donald Trump exclusively. He is a player in the Spygate drama. But and finally, my book is now completed, exonerated. As I write in the book extensively, this is a bigger spying drama. They tried this before. They've tried this on multiple people. Donald Trump was just the latest victim, and he's the one who's going to put a stop to it because he's not willing to take it. Evidence is in Margot Cleveland's piece. Inside the piece, she talks about how as far back as 2014, enemies of the Obama administration, keep this clear in your head, enemies of the Obama administration, to include Mike Flynn, former DIA director, Lieutenant General Flynn, who did not like Obama's signature foreign policy achievement, the Iran deal. I use the air quotes because some achievement that was, in nuclearizing or providing a path to it for our Death to America crowd. Mike Flynn was a vocal critic of this, of the Iran deal, a vocal critic. Obama's team had to take him out, just like they spied on people up on the Hill who were opponents of the Iran deal. What did they do? They used their contacts with British intelligence people to have Flynn come overseas to a Cambridge seminar where a Russian woman, Russian student, Svetlana Lakova, sat across the table from Flynn, and allegations surfaced shortly thereafter when Flynn's opposition grew to the Iran deal that Flynn was colluding with the Russians and may have had some kind of illicit relationship with this Russian woman. The story's entirely debunked. It is totally ridiculous. The boyfriend of the woman says, I don't know what you're talking about. I picked her up that night. People there with Flynn from the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, said that's utterly absurd. Nothing inappropriate happened at all. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, what they're really hiding through this declassification and what they're reluctant to put out is what I've been telling you for 2 years. The Obama administration used our own domestic intelligence agencies, their contacts, Halper and others, and overseas contacts and intelligence agencies like Dearlove, Christopher Andrew, and others to set people up and frame them. That's it. It's as clear as that. Yes, that's what they're hiding. The CIA was not being used and their intelligence contacts overseas to develop portfolios of quality intelligence decision makers could make decisions on. They were being used to frame opponents of the Obama administration. Now, why anyone in the CIA now, including its director and others in the law enforcement community, are still insisting on, as I say, not taking the L is bizarre. Take the L. You are going to lose. Take the loss. It's over. You're caught. Just come clean. It's over. Stop the nonsense. I understand what you think you're doing. What you think you're doing is you think the longer you put this off, interest in it's going to wane, and you'll slowly build and reestablish trust in our intelligence community and law enforcement community, despite their obvious malfeasance and misfeasance in this spying scandal. That is not happening. I'm not letting it go. I'll write a third book if I have to. People are not letting it go. We will never let it go. You crapped on the constitutional republic. You threw the Fourth Amendment out the window. We are not letting it go. Just take the loss. It's not going to happen. We're not letting it go. Just come clean, put the information out there, stop fighting Barr, declassify it, We'll protect against disclosures where we see fit, but the American people are entitled to know what was done in their name to spy on what is now their president. End of story. You are not going to get away. You're not going to get off. All right, moving on because I got a lot to get to. Hey, a big thank you. I'm not sure given that it was Memorial Day yesterday, I did not want to engage in anything that seemed even remotely self-celebratory. But I wanted to extend a big, heartfelt thank you. And I mean this to everybody who tuned in to Hannity when we guest hosted on Thursday. You made us number one in cable news and number one in the key demo. Thank you. And it must have killed a lot of these liberals. I mean, rip their hearts out, who write for these media critic sites that are totally liberal. These are like big lib sites. They must have killed them to write about it. Other sites. Yes, Muttley. That is a big Muttley right there. To write that, one of them wrote, Dan Bongino dominates cable news. This guy who wrote this article, Joe, hates me with a passion reserved only for like Jason and Freddy Krueger in the Friday the 13th, the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. He must have killed him to write that article. But you did it. I love my audience to death. You all, men and ladies out there, you're the most loyal folks. Yeah. You really are. To me, to Joe, to my show, Paul, and everybody involved. I love you to death, man. You really, you mean the world to me. I want to thank you so much.
The gnashing of teeth.
Oh, I must have killed him to write that article. Dan Bongino dominates cable news. Scratch a claw at their eyes and everything. All right. So in our debunking liberal lies section today, because again, there's a lot of news to get to today. The Wall Street Journal has an interesting piece up. Nothing liberals tell you is true. They've been on the wrong side of history on every issue out there that matters to you. Healthcare, education, taxes, the economy, government regulations, foreign policy. Liberals are typically on the wrong side of everything. And it's not just that they're on the wrong side of everything. Their talking points to sell you that they're on the right side of it are usually the opposite of what actually happens. Case in point, this article in the Wall Street Journal about California's expansion of Medicaid, which I found fascinating. Now, the title of the article by their editorial board is California's Medicaid for All. Democrats want to pay for health care for every illegal immigrant in California. Okay. They open the article by citing a quote from Milton Friedman, which I have used on this show repeatedly for you regular listeners. Ladies and gentlemen, it is economically and logically not feasible for a country to have an open borders policy and a welfare state at the same time. Think about that. You cannot allow everybody into your country unfettered through open borders while simultaneously giving them an entitlement to a program paid for only by the citizens. The world has billions of people. All you would have to do is fly to the United States, claim a Social Security or Medicaid benefit, get your hospital benefit, claim a retirement check, and go right back over to Russia, Afghanistan, cross back into Mexico, Canada, whatever it may be. You can't have open borders and an entitlement state and a welfare state at the same time. It's just simple math. You can't have 300 million citizens in the United States paying the entitlement benefits for billions of people around the world who don't pay into our system.
It doesn't work, Dan.
Thank you. I know that's hard for liberals. T-shirt number 20 for Joe. It doesn't work, Dan. It doesn't. It's simple arithmetic. Liberals have a hard time with that. Getting back to one of the nuggets, though, in this piece, the piece was about, again, California suggesting they should expand Medicaid benefits to illegal immigrants who come to the country illegally, meaning anybody who just walk into California, go to a hospital, say, I'm here for my surgery, my procedure, and then walk back across the border. It doesn't make any sense. But to California it does, which I really feel bad for the conservatives in California who I get a lot of emails from. I don't know how you deal with this kind of idiocy. But one of the nuggets in this piece down below, which again shows how liberals don't only lie to you, whatever liberals tell you, the opposite is typically always true. Remember when we were told, Joe, that Obamacare, this panacea of this cornucopia of solutions for our healthcare system, that Obamacare, what it was going to do is Obamacare was going to give health insurance to these people who didn't have it. So these people who didn't have it would stop going to the emergency room and would seek preventative care at doctors. You remember how many times we were told that?
Yes.
I mean, Joe and I were doing shows on this 4 years ago. How the promises of Obamacare were completely, utterly ridiculous. It was going to reduce deductibles. It was going to reduce premiums. If you like your plan, you can keep it. Nope. None of this was true. None of it. But one of its so-called signature initiatives was it's going to clear up the emergency room. The emergency room is expensive. People are going to have insurance now, and they're going to start going to doctor's offices, which are cheaper instead, and emergency room visits will be down. Ladies and gentlemen, they still trot out this talking point, despite the fact that an exhaustive study done in the state of Oregon debunked this thing 6 different ways from Sunday. Mm-hmm. Emergency room usage in Oregon went up after what essentially was a randomized study of people who got Obamacare benefits and people who didn't. It went up. It went up, emergency room usage. Now we see from the Journal piece, it's same thing is happening in California. It doesn't matter. None of this will get in the way of liberal arguments, Joe.
Oh.
Emergency rooms are swamped. They're talking about California. This is a quote. And the average wait time before hospital admission has climbed to 336 minutes. California ER waiting room times. Wait, I thought this wasn't supposed to happen. About 80 minutes more than the national average. The State Office of Statewide Health Planning and Development recently reported that the number of patients leaving emergency rooms before their medical care was completed has also increased 57% since 2012. Why is that happening? Because people are sitting in the ER getting some stitches. The doctor has to discharge them. And they're taking so long because of, that's before they even get in. They're waiting 336 minutes to even get in, that they're just leaving and walking out before a formal discharge and formal instructions from the doctor because they're sitting there for so long. You know, is it ever difficult for you liberals? I mean, do you ever wake up? This is why I have no sympathy for them at all. Some people email me. I get this email a lot. Fair enough. I leave my email out there to hear your criticisms and your nice feedback. But people say, well, why aren't you nicer to liberals? We're trying to convert them. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to convert liberals. I'm trying to put the facts and the data out there for moderate Democrats and reasonable people to make informed judgments. If they decide Democrats are still for them, that's fine. Listen, I don't run a totalitarian regime here. I do the facts. The facts are this. Liberals have lied to you. They wake up every morning and lie and repeatedly lie. ER usage since Obamacare is not only not down, it is up, and it is up dramatically. Now, why is that? I owe you an explanation. It's not good enough to say Obamacare stinks. Because due to the Medicaid expansion under Obamacare, government-provided health insurance, that's what Medicaid is. State budgets are being constrained because Medicaid was expanded dramatically under Obamacare to people who can afford health care. It might be tough, but can afford it. Medicaid was designed initially for lower-income people. It is now seeped into the middle class, lower middle class.
Oh, yeah.
So other people are paying for other people's benefits who can pay for it themselves. So what happened with the dramatic expansion of Medicaid is reimbursement rates to doctors for Medicaid, follow me, have gone down. Track me here. So what's happening? Doctors' offices are not accepting new Medicaid patients because they can't keep the money flowing through their business to keep the business open any other way. If a doctor's office it costs $10,000 a day in administrative costs to stay open, paying his staff, licenses for their computer, running EKG and X-ray machines. If it takes $10,000 a day and Medicaid's reimbursing that doctor at $9,000 a day, the doctor's not going to show up for work to lose $1,000 a day. He'd go bankrupt, or she. Oh my gosh, this is not complicated. No. Medicaid reimbursement rates are lower than free market insurance rates. So doctors have stopped taking, in many cases, Medicaid patients who are now, there are more of them because Obama expanded Medicaid under Obamacare to people who could do insurance themselves, afford it. So what's happening? More Medicaid patients are calling up doctors' offices, trying to get into the offices that can't because they're not accepting them. So where are they going, Joe? The emergency room.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, exactly the opposite of the phenomenon you claimed wouldn't happen. We're going to give more people insurance and they're going to go to the doctor. No, that's not what happened. You gave, dreaded air quotes, more people insurance with other people's tax dollars who now are paying doctors at a lower rate. Doctors aren't accepting them and they're walking right back into the ER at greater rates than they were before.
Yeah, it's like the ER is their primary care.
Exactly. And it's expensive. And what does it do? Create significant opportunity costs. Lost opportunities. For doctors, even worse. It creates a problem too, where people who are legitimately having a crisis, chest pains, open wounds, are sitting behind people who are going into the emergency room with a cold. I mean, does it ever... Do you ever, seriously, I know liberals listen to the show. I get your hate email. And I get it on Facebook too. I get it every day. I read it. It's kind of funny. I get a kick out of it. We have a standard response for hate email. Please seek professional help before you hurt someone or yourself. Thank you. Have a nice day. It's our standard response. Does it ever bother you that you're wrong? I mean, I debated a pretty prominent economics PhD on this topic who actually trotted out this talking point. Obamacare is great because it's going to keep people out of the ER. That is not happening. That is factually incorrect. You are making that up. That is just not true. I'm sorry that bothers you, that you live in a fantasy land. Unreal. All right. Today's show brought to you by one of my all-time favorite sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this is one of Joe's faves too. Omaha Steaks. Let me tell you something. I have a hard time sometimes with Omaha Steaks because I don't know what I want to eat more. The steaks or the burgers? Paula's a big fan of the burgers. Paula, how many Omaha Steaks burgers did I eat yesterday? That's right, 4. Yes, I know it's gross. I'm 230 pounds. I know I eat a lot, but these steaks are so delicious. I'm talking gross. I'm talking about my eating habits. Now, they are so good. I had 2. Then I had a half of another one. Then I said, well, the other half of the Omaha Steak burger, I can't leave that there. So I ate the other half and it was 3. But then I thought, I can't leave the single one for tomorrow because it'll be lonely. So I ate the 4th. They were that good.
Rational.
It is rational. It is a lot of food. But Omaha Steaks makes it so easy. Listen, you're looking for an easy and affordable way to stock up for summer grilling as well as a great gift. No better Father's Day gift than our buddies at Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks, America's original butcher, making special occasions easier since 1917. Right now, Omaha Steaks is giving a limited time Father's Day gift offer to my listeners. Go to omahasteaks.com and enter code Bongino in the search bar. That's how you do this. And you will get a 74% off discount for the Father's Day Steak Fix gift package. That's a $235 value now for only $59.99. Salivating steaks. Here's what you get. 2 tender filet mignons. I'm getting hungry now. 2 bold top sirloins. 2 savory pork chops. 4 Omaha Steak burgers. Cook them, send them my way. 4 massive gourmet jumbo franks. My daughter loves them. 4 crispy chicken fried steaks. All beef meatballs. 4 premium chicken breasts. 4 caramel apple tartlets for dessert. Another of my daughter's favorites. A packet of Omaha Steaks signature seasoning. And you'll get 4 extra Omaha Steaks burgers free. Feel free to cook them and bring them on by. Give this amazing package as a gift for dad or stock up for incredible summer grilling, all at 74% off. Ladies and gentlemen, please go now. Again, order now. You get this exclusive Omaha Steaks Father's Day Steak Fix package valued at $235 for just $59.99. Just go to omahasteaks.com and type code Bongino into the search bar to get the discount. Don't wait. This offer ends soon. omahasteaks.com, Bongino in the search bar to get your Father's Day Steak Fix package today. Yes. Love Omaha Steaks. Paul, am I making that up after 4 burgers? You know what I'm not telling you guys, which is even worse? I ate another 4 the night before. Not kidding. That is not a joke. That's why I had to work out extra hard yesterday. All right.
It's the protein.
I need more protein. Exactly. We can keep telling ourselves that. I need more protein. Hey, I'm starting to get a little worried. I saw this story about Facebook and what happened in the EU elections. We don't do a lot of foreign policy in the show. I should probably cover some more. But there were elections over in the European Union, and some of the right-leaning parties and far left-leaning parties did particularly well, while what the media describes as center-leaning parties, again, these are media descriptions more than anything, lost some seats. It's not so much the story. I have a story up from Legal Insurrection there. Anti-EU right-wing parties win big in European election. That's not so much the story. It's, election results are always interesting to me. But the story has more been the response by the media, and it speaks to the media and the left's tyrannical impulse lately, folks. It bothers me. And I know I kind of slipped that very hard adjective in there kind of nonchalantly, but I mean it. Remember, when the left loses an election, they want to change the rules. When the right loses an election, they change their strategy. And when the left can't change the rules, the left immediately goes to their tyrannical impulse. And when I say tyrannical, I mean we have to take away their freedom, their control, their speech, suppress their thought, deplatform them, debank them, get them out of the financial system. I saw this article up at Drudge, and it really bothered me. It's about the response to these EU elections. And this left-leaning guy wants Facebook now to start to deplatform people and take more of these pages down because, they're out there spreading hate speech, of course, which is always up to the interpretation of what the left says, hate speech. And hate speech, they intentionally want to be an open term because it sounds awful, like nobody wants hate speech. But then you find out hate speech is really anything the left disagrees with. So I found the response by this guy, sadly predictable, but the article, by the way, is by Chris O'Brien. It says, listen to this title. This is so ridiculous. Facebook still can't control the far-right political propaganda monster it built. Keep in mind, it doesn't matter that, the reason I bring this up after my last story is, it doesn't matter that people like AOC, Bernie Sanders, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar can engage sometimes in anti-Semitic, factually incorrect. AOC has never gotten a point right on her Twitter feed about economics. It's always wrong. She just fabricates stuff. Notice, there is no inclination. Follow me here. This is important. There's no inclination by conservatives to try to deplatform them and get them off Twitter. Although what they spew is clearly propaganda. Ilhan Omar with grotesquely anti-Semitic tweets. Rashida Tlaib on videos on Twitter. We're going to impeach the mother. You fill in the blank. Ocasio-Cortez, Miss Cortez, out there with her, puzzled by racist cauliflower, colonial cauliflower. Bernie Sanders making up statistics about just fabricating something. We need single-payer health care. It's going to solve our problems for everyone. We should all be able to get health care. It'll keep you out of the ER. Bernie, that is absolutely incorrect. Nobody on the right with any credibility, me included, is pushing to deplatform, debank, or silence these people. Free speech sometimes means that, people say things you don't agree with, and it's our job in a constitutional republic to rebut that free speech with free speech of our own based in facts and data. Something I'm very proud we've done on this show for 4+ years now. We use actual data in our arguments. And when we speculate, we say it. That is not what the left does. The far left, not all Democrats, the far left is populated exclusively with people that lie. School choice doesn't work. The results are really awful. That's not what the data says. You're a racist. Obamacare is going to solve all our problems. Premiums are going to go down. Now, premiums actually went up. You're a racist. High taxes. This is great for the middle class. And then you challenge it. Well, we lowered taxes and middle class wages are going up. You clearly hate women. Folks, they just make stuff up. But there is there's no equality in the reasoning. There's no level-headedness in the reasoning. We're the level-headed ones, conservatives, be very proud. Let these people spew their idiocy. We'll debut it. We'll debunk it, excuse me. Debut it. We'll debunk and rebut it. We will debut it using facts and data and reason. Let them spew their nonsense. Well, what do they do with us? They lose an election in the EU, and this guy, Chris O'Brien, this lunatic, his first instinct is to go after Facebook. Get these hate pages out of there. They have this sick, tyrannical impulse, Joe, that just never, ever goes away. You know, I can't say enough. I'm no big fan of the libs at HBO. I've said that often. I think we get it for free here due to our HOA thing. We may not. I'm not even sure. But I cannot say enough about the quality of this series, Chernobyl. I promise I'm not getting off track. It's related to what I'm talking about, but this left's tyrannical impulse. I can't say enough. It's probably the finest television I've ever seen. The part 4 aired last night. You can watch it on demand. About the Chernobyl nuclear incident in 1986. And it's not the show is, don't get confused, watch it. It's not an indictment on the nuclear industry. The show, and by the way, the liberals at HBO, I'm not sure if they realize they're doing this, is a stunning, astonishing indictment on the epic failures of socialism. I'm not going to spoil the show. Listen, it's based on a real life incident, but some of you aren't familiar with the deep details of the story. I wasn't either, some of the deeper details of the story. So I don't want to spoil it for you. But I just want to say in every episode, there is a moment where there's a solution for a problem suggested, and the socialists running the USSR at the time, the Soviet Union, the socialists get in the way of the solution. Because their only skin in the game is protecting their image. That's what liberals do. It's not about facts. It's not about data. It's about the image of, equal rights for all. Equal rights for all by taking other people's money and taking away their healthcare choices. How is that equal rights? Equality for all. It's more about leveling the playing field. How? By unleveling the playing field for other people and making them pay for other people's healthcare insurance who can afford it themselves. How is that leveling anything? We're going to go after the rich. You mean the same rich that provide jobs and economic opportunity? Yeah, but they're really mean people. You've met them all? No, I haven't met them. What about the billions in charity they donate every year? Racist. Socialism is for idiots. It's for fools. And I'm telling you, I'm not trying to promote anything HBO does because they are liberals that run the joint. But gosh, the show is every student in school should be forced to watch it. And it's not an indictment of the nuclear industry. The nuclear industry is very safe. It's an indictment of the socialists that ran the nuclear industry in the Soviet Union and didn't care about anyone else. Because there was no private property ownership. There was no reason to care. Remember, when everybody owns something like socialism, nobody owns it. The greatest disasters, and by greatest, I don't mean qualitatively good. I mean most deeply impactful. The greatest disasters in human history, ecologically and environmentally, happened largely in socialism-type economies. The Aral Sea, the Yangtze River, Chernobyl, the Pemex disaster. These were all in socialist countries. The nuclear industry's got a very safe record. It's a very safe method of powering our planet. It's when you put socialists in charge of it, this stuff breaks down. They're just liars. And this tyrannical impulse to shut down anybody who disagrees with them. Folks, I don't know where this is going to go. I got to tell you, I have no easy answer for you. I wish I did. I don't like leaving open questions on the show, nor in my books. We have a few in my sequel to Spygate, Exonerate. We have a few open questions I'm hoping crowdsourcers can help us out on. They're key questions. But I have no idea where this is going to go. My fear in the next election in the United States is if Trump wins re-election, this tyrannical impulse by the left to deplatform, bankrupt, litigate away, use the process as punishment in the legal system, as Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch says, to get people, their checking accounts, their savings accounts canceled, to get them humiliated in public, kicked off social media. Ladies and gentlemen, it's only going to get worse. This is not going to get any better. Because they are tyrants on the far left. They cannot stand dissenting thought. And it's because they are bedrocked in government power. The ability to control your life. We are not bedrocked in that as conservatives. We are bedrocked in God-given individual big R rights. Those two ideas cannot possibly coexist. There is no intersecting of the spheres. Either you have big R God-given rights granted to you by God that the government cannot take away, or the government has those rights and they will impose their rights on you. These ideas cannot coexist. I don't know where this is going to go. I really don't. Fear these people. And I don't mean it in a snowflakey kind of way, like cringe in the corner with your Snuggie like the left does. I mean, keep a healthy amount of fear about what these people are doing, and it'll keep your spidey senses up. So we'll maybe find a way to respond electorally. These are dangerous people. Lose an election in the EU. Get everybody off Facebook. I mean, it's amazing. They don't even hide it anymore. This is headlining Drudge right now. All right. Got a lot more to get to. Sorry, Paul, did I go out of order? Poor wife. Sorry. Sometimes I give her a rundown at the beginning of the show and then I get an idea in my head and I go completely off script. All right, today's show brought to you by our buddies at iTarget as well. Ladies and gentlemen, if you own a firearm, two things matter. If you got to triage your responsibilities, number one is safety, safety, safety. Number two, obviously, is proficiency. If you're going to own a firearm to protect yourself, potentially your family, God forbid you're in a scenario where you need to save your life, save your family's life, get involved in a use of force situation, you want to be proficient. Now, what's the way we do that? Typically, we go to the range and we practice with our firearm. We practice our sight alignment, our sight picture, our grip, and these are the ways you increase your proficiency with your firearm. You get the right grip, you get that sight picture down, equal light on both sides, level across the top, and you fire with live rounds at the range. Well, what's the problem with that? Well, the problem can be you may not be close to a range. The range can be expensive. Rounds can be expensive. You have to clean your firearm. Sometimes you can't go to the range once a week like you should. So what do? I have the solution for you right now. You go to itargetpro.com. That's the letter I. itargetpro.com. Use promo code Dan. You'll save 10% and pick up the iTarget Pro system. Well, what is that? It is a laser round they will send you. A laser round. You drop it in your safely unloaded weapon. The same one you have now. You don't have to make any manipulations necessary. I have a Sig Sauer P365. You take their 9mm laser round from iTarget Pro. You drop it in. And when you depress the trigger on that inert round, the round emits a laser onto a target they send you. You can practice in the safety and security of your own home. Always point that firearm in a safe direction, of course. But you can practice in the safety and security of your own home. The phone app that it links up with will show you exactly where the rounds landed. Who's better than you? You can practice all day. I've got friends of mine who cannot put this system down. Police officers, military personnel. Second Amendment advocates, firearm owners, first-time firearm owners. You want to train your family how to use a firearm in a safe, secure manner without live rounds? This is the way to do it. Go to itargetpro.com, use promo code Dan, and save 10% on the best system for increasing your proficiency out there. You'll be knocking the wings off a firefly after a week with this system. People send me pictures of their targets. They're amazing. itargetpro.com, promo code Dan, save 10%. Go check it out. Okay. Our resident debunker in chief, Matt Palumbo, who writes really terrific stuff. He has a book coming out called Debunk This, which is fantastic. It's a must read before the election. You'll be able to debunk all your liberal friends' arguments, by the way. Matt is my debunker in chief for the website. So he sent me a DM on Twitter the other day, and he said, "Hey, Dan, I'm thinking about writing a piece about the facts on arming teachers." And I have to tell you, because you know I love my audience, I'm always candid with you. At first I thought, Joe, I'm not so sure that piece is going to resonate on the website. The facts on arming teachers sounded kind of even bland. But man, did he nail it on this piece. I said I'd give it a shot. And I read it this morning. It's up at the website now, called, again, The Facts on Arming Teachers by our buddy Matt Palumbo. And he had some really fascinating tidbits on this. Now, the reason we're bringing this up now, and Matt wrote about the piece, is Florida, where I live. Our excellent conservative governor, Ron DeSantis, just just signed the new bill. Excuse me. Sorry, but I never cough on the air. I think that's the first time that happened. We need a cough button. Just signed a bill allowing some teachers who are qualified and want to do it, it's completely voluntary, allows them to be armed in the classroom to, God forbid, have to protect the students and their lives themselves. So Matt's like, listen, there's a lot of nonsense out there about arming teachers. So he puts a couple points up there, including a chart, which I'll get to in a second. But number one, he points out that all of the liberal hysteria about arming teachers, one of the things they never include in their argument, Joe, because remember, liberals lie. Sadly, that's what they do.
Yeah. Lying again.
Is, Joe, 20 states already allow teachers to be armed in the classroom. So basically, Matt's point in the piece, and it'll be in my show notes today at Bongino.com. Please read them. If you sign up for my email list, I'll send you these articles. Read Matt's Debunk This pieces. They're so good. He said if this hysteria that teachers with firearms in the classroom are going to be having their guns taken away by the students, that was one of the dopey liberal arguments. There's going to be accidental discharges everywhere. It's going to create a more dangerous scenario. What if they don't hit the bad guy if a bad guy's in the school, God forbid, with a firearm, as if being unarmed somehow was a better solution? He said, well, why isn't this happening then? If your predictions are true, massive accidental discharges, guns being stolen everywhere, why do already 20 states allow it? And the data in the piece is already pretty conclusive. Now, Matt says, regardless of this, there's one category of schools that have 0 deaths from firearms when school was in session. And it's those whose schools allow the teachers to carry. Again, keep that up for a minute, please. YouTube.com/Bongino if you want to see the chart. But don't worry, our audio listeners, it is in the show notes today. You can see the chart yourself, but it's easy to explain. It doesn't require me to expound on a lot of data. Look at this chart. He has a chart up. The trend line for all schools. In other words, where there have been firearm incidents resulting in people killed on campuses, school campuses during the school day. And then he has the trend line in schools where teachers carry guns. You know why this is easy to read? Because the trend line for schools where teachers carry guns is a flat line at 0. In other words, there have been no deaths, people killed by firearms during school hours in these incidents in schools where teachers carry firearms. It's not a hard chart to read. 0. So if your predictions about massive accidental discharges, by the way, there have been one of those. When in an incident in a school bathroom, a teacher carrying a firearm had an AD, an accidental discharge, we call it in law enforcement, and hit portions of the toilet bowl she was near, and I think fragments of the bowl hit her or something like that, or her or him. But there was one AD. So out of 20 states that allow this and thousands of people use one accidental discharge, I can guarantee you in law enforcement academies, there are more incidents of accidental discharges. So that talking point, throw that out. The cases of so-called students wrestling the guns away from the teachers, there are exactly 0 cases of that. Their other talking point, that it wasn't going to make a difference. Now, listen, this is a small statistical sample, as Matt acknowledges in the piece. But schools that don't allow it, there have been incidents. Schools that do allow teachers to be armed, 0 incidents of people killed during school hours. Again, none of your arguments are actually true. You're just making it up like you always do. One more liberal talking point he debunks in the piece. Liberals, again, who lie repeatedly about this, said, well, insurance costs for these schools, if we introduce armed teachers into the classroom, are going to go up dramatically. There has been no insurance increase noticeably anywhere amongst these schools that have done this. None. So again, don't let this get in the way of your silly arguments, liberals. But for people interested in logic and reason out there, argue your case. Listen to me. Don't take my aggressive posture on this show against liberals as me trying to silence them. Argue your case. There are reasonable people who I understand might say, I don't want an armed teacher in the classroom with my student. I get that. Mm-hmm. I'm not asking you to not make that argument. I'm just asking you to make it based on facts and data, what we call reason. And none of the data or reason you're using is reasonable. There has been no insurance increase. There have been no incidents of students stealing their guns. There's been one incident, statistically insignificant, looked in the aggregate of an AD. And the data that the schools are less safe because of the guns in there says the opposite. There have been 0 incidents in those schools. Use that data and then formulate an argument that actually makes sense. All right. What's next? Oh, this one's a good one. Hey, before we go, can I get an audience? Paula, get prepared for 1 million emails today. I'm sorry. We're going to read a lot. My wife doesn't like my coffee cup this morning. She doesn't think this is a manly coffee cup.
Yeah, it's a nice pair.
You like nice pair? Yeah. Dude, I almost missed that. What about this pair?
Oh, that's a nice pair too.
My wife doesn't like my coffee cup nice this morning. She bought them. Happy wife, happy life. I didn't buy these. I would get them with like a stoner on it or something like that. Stoner, the rifle, not stoner like Sean Penn, Fast Times on Richmond High. But it's her coffee cup. She didn't like my coffee cups. She's like, Dad, you got to get rid of that coffee cup. Because when we can see each other through the camera. We're right next to each other, but she's outside. She's like, I can't believe you're drinking out of that. Here it is. Cheers. Who made this? Lennox. What do you want me to do? Now watch, we'll get a bunch of coffee cups in our P.O. box. I can, right? That's coming next. That's next. I can see it already. All right. This is a vital story for the day. And then I just want to say something about I think, a good guy who got maligned a little bit. Just a quick story. It doesn't require a lot of detailed info. So, Biden, Pete Buttigieg, who's the new it thing in the Democrat Party, mayor of South Bend, Indiana. Mayor Pete running for the presidency, and Tulsi Gabbard. They've all turned into class warriors. The evil rich. I mean, we're all tired of it. We get it. Rich people are horrible. We got to tax them and take their money. Meanwhile, keep in mind, Biden gets about $200K a speech or whatever before these people become rich when they get into politics. But I just find their hypocrisy stunning. Charlie Gasparino has a piece up at Fox Business Today showing that Biden, Buttigieg, and Gabbard are hitting up Wall Street for money despite their class warfare rhetoric. Again, I just love pointing out their hypocrisy, because hold your head high as a conservative or a strong libertarian or a strong Republican out there, that there's no hypocrisy in your game, right? Like, we go out there, we run on low taxes because we want low taxes for everybody, because we believe in economic freedom. We respect things like school choice and advocate for them because we send our kids to a lot of us send our kids to good schools. We want people who are struggling to have that choice too. We want healthcare choice for Americans because we believe in freedom. Yeah. We don't want government telling us where to go, but we want that for everybody, not just us. Understand this. Liberals are hypocrites. I've said this repeatedly over and over. They love high taxes for everyone else. John Kerry parks his boat in Rhode Island to avoid paying taxes on it. Yeah. They hate school choice, yet the Obamas sent their kids to Sidwell Friends. One of the most expensive elite schools in Washington, D.C. And good for them. I'm glad they want their kids to get the best education. But they should advocate for everyone else doing it too. Healthcare choice. Remember the Obamacare thing? Congress, well, what do you mean? We have to go in Obamacare too? We can't have that. Gave themselves a special dispensation from Obamacare. They're hypocrites. Gabbard, Biden, Buttigieg. Oh, man, these rich people are awful. Hey, you guys got a few bucks? You're such frauds. Such frauds.
I think they're drinking out of the same coffee cup that you have.
You like that? This coffee cup? I know.
Well, you got to have a pair.
You got
to ask for some of the things that they do.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. The goal on them, right? I mean, incredible.
Yeah.
Said he made the link to the coffee cup. You're trip me out. I mean, really, the goal. Yeah. They go in and ask Wall Street after running against Wall Street like forever. Unbelievable.
Dude.
All right, the final note of today's show. Joe, you a baseball guy?
Not much. Not so much, no.
You know, I was growing up. I loved baseball.
Yeah.
I passionately
loved
baseball. And about 5 or 6 years ago, there was too much going on. And, I don't have time anymore to watch, 2-3 hours of a baseball game. I just don't have any time. But, when I was a kid, I remember Bill Buckner. You remember Bill Buckner? Bill Buckner.
Yeah.
And I say this with great regret, became famous for an error he made in the 1986 World Series. The New York Mets, I remember this, ladies and gentlemen, like it was yesterday. For those of you who are not baseball fans, the New York Mets were playing the Boston Red Sox. Game 6 of the Boston Red Sox would have won it. It's a best of 7, the World Series. I know many of you know this, but some who aren't baseball fans may not. The World Series is a best of 7 series. The first team to win 4 games wins. So the Red Sox had an elimination game in Game 6. It would have been their 4th win. It would have been over. They were up by, forgive me, but it was a few runs in the 9th inning, and the Mets were out of it. The game was over. It was in New York, so the Mets got last ups there, and the Red Sox were positioned to win the game. And Mookie Wilson, who was a Mets outfielder, they had 2 outs in the game. Mookie Wilson hits a slow ground ball to first base, and Bill Buckner, who was the first baseman for the Red Sox, the ball went through his legs. He missed it. He made an error, which allowed, I believe, Ray Knight to score. And the Mets I watched that game. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, of all the sports moments in my life, I remember the Kirk Gibson home run was one of them. This was number one. I was a Yankees fan growing up, but I got to tell you, my family was all Mets fans. Well, not all of my brothers like the Yankees, but my parents remarried. My mother's husband and the kid loved the Mets, and they went nuts. My mother went crazy. I just remember I was at this guy's Phil's house in Glendale, Phil DeZago. I remember. It was an amazing moment because nobody could believe he missed it, Buckner. Now, the saddest part about that is Buckner became known for that for pretty much the rest of his life. Buckner died. There's a picture of Bill Buckner. But Buckner was a great American player. He died at 69 from some form of dementia. But ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't, I know it's not a baseball show or a sports show, but Buckner never let that error define him, ever. He came back, and thankfully, years later, the Red Sox fans who had been slightly angry at him for that error that lost the game. The Mets went on to win the World Series. They won Game 7 the next game. They embraced him and they gave him a standing ovation. Buckner was a tremendous American baseball player. Tremendous. 2,700 hits, one of the greatest singles hitters in baseball history. And one thing about Buckner I always admired, even though I was a Yankees fan, he played for a number of teams. You want to talk about a guy that played through injuries. If you get the chance, watch the video of Bill Buckner's last home run. It was an inside the park home run, meaning you got to run around the bases quick. He didn't hit it out of the park. It was watch him hobble around the bases with his 2 destroyed knees and his bad ankles and make it across home plate. That's the real Bill Buckner. Remember that guy. Don't be defined by your lowest moments. Buckner never let it happen to him. He was a great professional athlete. He was a good man. He was a classy sportsman. And I just want to remember him today. So thanks a lot, Bill. Rest in peace. Godspeed in your next journey with the Lord, brother. Hey, thanks again for listening. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Bongino. You can also subscribe to our audio podcast on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. It's the subscriptions, folks. They're all free, by the way, that help us move up the charts. We really appreciate it when you subscribe. It matters the world to us. Helps other people find the show. We try to keep the expenses on the show low so we don't have a huge marketing budget. Thanks a lot, folks. I appreciate it. I'll see you all tomorrow. All right, today's show is brought to you by our buddies at Brickhouse Nutrition. They make one of the finest nutrition supplements out there. Hey, here it is. Field of Greens. Field of Greens. Now, you'll notice that's empty. Why is that empty? Just like my bottle of Foundation or other great product, I use this. This is the finest fruit and vegetable supplement out there. This is real food, Field of Greens. This is not cheap extract. This is real ground up, healthy fruits and vegetables, the key to a long, great, healthy life. Your cognitive abilities look better, feel better, perform better. Field of Greens, it's your fruit and vegetable insurance. I love it. Use the product twice a day. It tastes great. This is real, healthy, high quality fruits and vegetables. Think of it as your fruit and vegetable insurance for a long and healthy life. Go to brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Pick up a jar of Field of Greens. This is empty. I need some more because we use it, me and my wife too. Field of Greens, available at brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. That's brickhousenutrition.com/Dan. Pick it up today.
You just heard The Dan Bongino Show. You can also get Dan's podcasts on iTunes or SoundCloud. And follow Dan on Twitter 24/7 at Debungino.